Welcome to Punky's World. You know, something I have figured out just in the last month or so, something else that my mother was right about. That's right, Ma, you were right. I'm looking at her over there. Um, she always said that my memories weren't in a place, they were in me. And she's so right. Because I thought when I left across the driveway that I would be leaving my parents behind because they never lived here. There's nothing of them here, but there is something of them here. Me! And I brought them with me. I'm half of each of them. And therefore the memories and the feelings of them being there and their encouragement and their love and their pride is still here. And it made me understand what my mother was talking about in terms of the old house over on Main Street that I've shown you. I'd still like to see what it looks like inside now. Someday I will. I get it now. All the memories that I have from there are in here. They don't live in those walls. And most of them are good. I mean, there are some that aren't so good that I would never share. After the age of 5, for the most part, they're good, you know, and anybody who knows my family knows why that is. You know, my memories of every place I've lived. In fact, I remember we were, when my parents had separated, and when they got back together, Mom and I were living in a converted mansion, a castle, basically, with like a big round towers and stuff, and had huge rooms, just ginormous. And my mother had used dressers and other things to divide the single bedroom into 2 bedrooms because it was just so ginormous. And well, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the social worker who was working with me, working with us, said, nope, you can't do that. You need to find somewhere else to live. You need 2 bedrooms. Oh, brother. Really? And the landlord happened to have another apartment in town, so we went there. We lived there for a while. And there was a small problem. Actually, I guess there were a few small problems, but the main problem of which was that the bathroom consisted of a toilet and a sink. There was no shower, no tub, no nothing. That's when it's good to make friends with your neighbors. And the downstairs neighbor became a very good friend of my mom's. She babysit, you know, her youngest son was my age, so I guess we would leave for school together and come home together off the bus, and she would look after me for the hour or so between when I got home and when my parents got home, because my father would have to leave the mill in Douglas and drive to Worcester to get my mother at the hospital where she worked. So there would be like an hour between, because I believe my father worked, it might have been a couple of hours, because my father worked 6 to 2, I believe, at the time, and he would get out at 2. No, would have been about 2 hours because he would have got out at 2. He would have got home around 2:30. So yeah, about 2.5 hours. Because I would have got home around noon. And when I did afternoon kindergarten, I would have gotten home. It wouldn't have been very long at all. Because I would have gotten home at 2 and Dad would have gotten home about 2:30. And Dad and I would have dinner or whatever. He would make me dinner. And then we would go to the hospital and pick Mom up together. That's how it worked. So yeah. Then, but yeah, it had 2 bedrooms, but it didn't have anywhere to take a bath, like I said. So we would take baths in downstairs neighbor's apartment, my babysitter's apartment. And I still remember one day, I'm down there, and she's sitting for me. She sat for me in the summer as well. And I just wasn't feeling right. And I said, Peggy, there's colors coming out of the top of my head. What? You know, can you imagine a 5-year-old say, what now, child? You know, and well, it turns out it was a drug reaction. They had given me, what's it called? Shoot, I can't remember it. It's for, Ritalin. For hyperactivity. And she was a little concerned. And so I guess her husband, he was called Tiny. This man was not tiny. He wasn't terribly tall, but he wasn't tiny. But that was his nickname, Tiny. Stayed with her kids. And she got in the ambulance with me to go to the hospital. And my mother was already at the hospital. So she called my mother at work, and my mother said, get the ambulance, get her here. And they let my mother come down to the emergency room to be with me. And I really don't remember. I remember being in the ambulance with Peggy, but I really don't remember what happened at the hospital. And my mother said they were laughing at you because they knew once the dose of medication wore off, you wouldn't be hallucinating anymore. But you were hilarious. You know, colors coming out of the top of your head and, you know, stuff like that. But they knew right away what it was and that it was nothing serious. And once the medication wore off, it would go away. And we won't be giving you that pill again. And, you know, so I do remember the paramedic kind of finding me amusing. It's funny. I have way too many memories in hospitals. I remember the time Nancy Gould took me to the hospital. In the back of her, she had a station wagon at the time. Big, flat, open back, you know. And I laid down back there with a pillow and a blanket, and I was so sick. It was my spastic colon, but I was vomiting, and I was just, oh. So back to the hospital I went. I remember one time Nancy's husband Ralph took me to the hospital because I bashed my head, and got a subdural hematoma on that one. I was wiping down the back of the bathtub. You know how the back of the bathtub, the opposite side of where the plumbing is, kind of goes down like this. at an angle. Well, I wasn't paying attention. I was wiping it down, making Mommy really proud. Stood up, wham! At the back of the bathtub was the towel bar. The towel bar was this like lucite plastic material. It was ribbed, and it was put in. It wasn't straight across. It was at an angle, so it was like diamond shaped. It was square, but it was put in at a diamond shaped angle, if that makes sense. And in the two end caps were porcelain, and they matched the tiles on the wall. Needless to say, that was a very big ouchie. My father was out that evening, and Ralph took me to the hospital. Ralph had a lead foot. Well, especially when you've got a kid with a head injury in the car, you know? So, and you couldn't just call Dad on a cell phone. You couldn't have reached him, you know, back then. But yeah, and I remember learning how to roller skate. I had roller skates that attached to my shoes, but they were all plastic. I'm 30% power here, so I think it was like Fisher Price or something. And I learned to roller skate because my mom and dad would push me back and forth on the kitchen floor on those skates and tell me how to move my feet. Till I started skating around the neighborhood. So that's how I learned to do it. You know, so there really are a lot of memories. Mostly good. I remember, again, being in the hospital, evidently not wanting to be there any longer, and picking up stuffed toys and throwing them at my father and my Uncle David. They both remembered it, but I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this video helps you as much as finally coming to terms with the fact that my memories are in me, that all of these people, parts of them are inside of me. And I'm so grateful that I get to carry on my great-grandmother and my great-aunts on both sides. Legacy. Yeah, I'd say I'm 30%. Of writing, being published in newspapers. That's exciting to me, and I love doing it. I was on school newspapers at both schools. I have written things that have gone in the regular newspaper, which is exciting. And I think I get it from them. I get it from my biological great-grandmother on my mother's side and my great-aunt on my father's side. So thank you, Great-Grandma Nettie. Thank you, Auntie Dinah, for imparting some talent. And I will see you guys for spare ribs later. And we're going to go ahead and go make some applesauce. Bye, guys. Please subscribe. I want to get to 100 by August 4th. See ya. God bless you.